Let me ask you something very honestly. How many times have you lost your peace just because someone else lost their manners? Someone said something, someone ignored you, someone didn't behave the way you expected, and suddenly your heartbeat changed, your mood collapsed, your entire day was ruined. Now listen to this very carefully. The day you stop getting angry is the day you stop being controlled. Anger does not harm the other person first, it harms you. Your health, your clarity, your happiness. The wise don't win arguments, they win peace. And today, I want to share with you why controlling anger is not weakness. It is the highest form of strength. Because the moment you stop reacting, you start ruling your life. Anger is a reaction, not a solution. And the problem with reactions is that they happen before wisdom arrives. When something hurts us, when someone speaks rudely, when life does not go according to our expectations, anger comes immediately. It feels powerful in that moment. It feels like strength. It feels like we are standing up for ourselves. But if you observe carefully, anger does not fix anything. It does not heal the situation. It does not improve the relationship. It does not bring clarity. It only releases pressure for a few seconds and then leaves behind damage that lasts much longer. Think about it honestly. How many times has anger actually solved your problem? When you shouted, did the misunderstanding disappear? When you lost control, did the situation become better? Most of the time, anger only creates new problems. One small issue turns into a big fight. One careless word turns into permanent distance. One emotional reaction turns into lifelong regret. That is why anger feels strong in the beginning but weak in the end. It promises relief, but it delivers consequences. Anger is often our mind's way of protecting the ego. When we feel disrespected, ignored, or misunderstood, the ego feels threatened. And instead of understanding, instead of patience, the ego chooses anger because anger is loud. It demands attention. It wants to prove a point. But in trying to protect our self-respect, anger actually makes us lose dignity. The louder we become, the smaller we appear. The more we react, the less control we have. If anger truly worked, the angriest people would be the happiest people. Well, look around. The people who get angry easily are often tired, restless, and dissatisfied. Their minds are always disturbed because they are constantly fighting the world. On the other hand, the calm ones are not weak. They are not silent because they are afraid. They are silent because they understand something deeper. Not every situation deserves a reaction. Anger is like fire. When controlled, it can be useful. But when uncontrolled, it burns everything: relationships, reputation, health, and peace of mind. Science even tells us that frequent anger increases stress hormones, raises blood pressure, and weakens immunity. But even without science, our own experience is enough proof. After anger passes, we feel exhausted. We feel empty. We replay the moment in our head and wish we had responded differently. That regret is the price we pay for reacting instead of responding. A solution requires clarity. Anger removes clarity. When the mind is angry, it becomes narrow. It sees only one side. It listens only to its own voice. In anger, we speak words we do not fully mean. We make decisions we later wish we could undo. That is why wise people delay their response. They know that time is their ally. When emotions settle, intelligence rises. Many people believe that if they don't get angry, others will take advantage of them. But calmness does not mean acceptance of injustice. Calmness means choosing the right moment and the right way to act. You can be firm without being furious. You can set boundaries without losing control. In fact, calm firmness is far more powerful than emotional aggression. When you speak calmly, people listen. When you react angrily, people defend. Anger also comes from the illusion that we can control others. We get angry because people don't behave the way we want. But the truth is, we cannot control the world. We can only control our response to it. The moment you realize this, anger starts losing its grip. You stop expecting everyone to meet your standards and you start protecting your peace instead. Every time you choose not to react in anger, you win a small victory over yourself. And that victory is more important than winning over someone else. Because the real battle is not outside, it is inside. The mind wants to explode, but the soul wants to stay calm. When you choose calmness, you are choosing growth. You are choosing maturity. Anger is immediate. Wisdom takes a moment. That moment is everything. In that pause, you decide whether the situation will control you or you will control the situation. And slowly, with practice, you realize something beautiful. Most things that once made you angry no longer matter. Not because they changed, but because you changed. Anger shouts, solutions whisper. Those who learn to listen to the whisper begin to live a life of peace, strength, and quiet confidence. You get angry because you expect. And this is one of the most uncomfortable truths to accept, because expectations feel natural, even justified. We expect people to understand us, to respect us, to behave properly, to respond the way we would respond. We expect life to be fair, relationships to be balanced, and efforts to be rewarded. When these expectations are met, we feel calm. When they are not, anger appears. Not because the situation is unbearable, but because reality did not match the picture we created in our mind. Expectation is a silent contract we make without informing the other person. We decide how someone should act, and then we get upset when they don't follow the script we never shared. This is why anger often feels sudden and intense. It is not born in the moment, it has been building quietly through expectation. The higher the expectation, the stronger the anger. The more emotional the dependency, the deeper the disappointment. Think about it carefully. You rarely get angry at strangers. If someone unknown behaves badly, you might feel annoyed, but it doesn't shake you deeply. But when a close person disappoints you, the anger hurts more. Why? Because expectation exists where attachment exists. The people we expect the most from are the ones who have the power to disturb us the most. Anger, in many cases, is nothing but unmet expectations expressing themselves emotionally. Expectation itself is not wrong. The problem begins when expectation turns into entitlement. When we start believing that people must behave according to our values, our timing, our emotions. We forget that everyone is fighting their own battles, carrying their own wounds, shaped by experiences we may never understand. When we demand emotional perfection from imperfect humans, frustration is guaranteed. Anger also comes from expecting control. We expect situations to go our way, conversations to end positively, outcomes to match our effort. When life refuses to cooperate, anger feels like a protest. But life does not work on personal preferences, it works on its own rhythm. When we try to control what is uncontrollable, anger becomes our constant companion. One of the biggest reasons expectations hurt is because they create emotional dependence. Your peace starts depending on how others behave. If they are kind, you are calm. If they are rude, you are disturbed. This is a dangerous exchange because you hand over your emotional remote control to someone else. The moment they press the wrong button, your inner balance collapses. Anger is simply the alarm that tells you your peace is no longer in your hands. Many people say, I expected this because I care. But caring does not require expectation. Love does not demand perfection. Understanding does not insist on obedience. True maturity is learning to care without clinging, to love without controlling, and to expect less while giving more. When expectations reduce, anger automatically weakens. Expectation also blinds us. When we expect someone to be a certain way, we stop seeing who they truly are. We get attached to our version of them, not their reality. And when reality shows up, anger emerges because it feels like betrayal. But the truth is, the betrayal was not by the person. It was by our own assumption. This does not mean we tolerate disrespect or accept toxic behavior. It means we clearly understand people's capacity and stop expecting from places where nothing can be given. When you expect wisdom from someone who lacks self-awareness, anger is inevitable. When you expect kindness from someone who is emotionally wounded, disappointment will follow. Intelligence is knowing where to place your expectations. Lowering expectations does not make you negative. It makes you free. When expectations drop, appreciation rises. Small gestures start feeling enough. Silence stops feeling like rejection. Differences stop feeling like personal attacks, and anger slowly loses its fuel. The most powerful shift happens when you replace expectation with acceptance. Acceptance does not mean approval. It means seeing reality as it is and OT as you want it to be. From that clarity, you can decide how close to stand, when to speak, and when to step back. Anger disappears when confusion ends. Every time you feel anger rising, ask yourself honestly, what was I expecting? That one question can dissolve the emotion before it explodes. Because once you identify the expectation, you regain control. You move from reaction to awareness. Life becomes lighter when you stop demanding that people fill your emotional gaps. When you take responsibility for your own peace, anger no longer dominates you. You stop reacting to people as they are, and you start responding from who you are becoming. When expectations soften, the mind relaxes. When the mind relaxes, anger has nowhere to stay. Not everyone deserves access to your emotions, and this realization changes the way you experience life. Many people suffer not because of what happens to them, but because they allow too many people to enter their inner world without permission. Every comment, every opinion, every reaction from others is given the power to disturb their peace. Anger rises not because the words were powerful, but because we allowed those words to matter more than they should have. Your emotions are precious. They are not free resources meant to be distributed to anyone who crosses your path. When you give emotional access to the wrong people, you pay the price in the form of stress, resentment, and inner chaos. Some people speak without thinking. Some criticize without understanding. Some provoke just to feel important. When you react emotionally to them, you reward their behavior. You tell them without words that they have power over you. Silence in such moments is not weakness. Silence is selection. It is you deciding that your peace is more valuable than proving a point. Many people believe they must respond to everything to protect their self-respect. But real self-respect is knowing when not to engage. Not every argument deserves your voice. Not every provocation deserves your energy. There are people who thrive on reactions. They feel alive when they disturb others. When you get angry, defensive, or emotional, you become part of their game. The calm person breaks the pattern. When you don't react, the conflict has nowhere to grow. Fire needs fuel. Without reaction, it dies. Giving emotional access also means sharing your vulnerabilities with people who have not earned your trust. When the wrong person knows what hurts you, they will press that spot again and again. This is why emotional boundaries are essential. Boundaries are not walls, they are filters. They allow what is healthy and block what is harmful. You don't need to explain yourself to everyone. You don't need to justify your silence. Peace does not require permission. The more you try to make everyone understand you, the more exhausted you become. Some people are not meant to understand you, they are meant to teach you where to stop. Anger often comes from overexposure. Too many opinions, too many comparisons, too many voices in your head. When everyone's words matter, your own voice gets lost. Emotional maturity is learning whose words deserve space in your mind. The rest can pass like noise. This does not mean becoming cold or detached from humanity. It means becoming selective. You can be kind without being available. You can be understanding without being affected. Detachment is not indifference, it is clarity. It is choosing peace over pointless emotional battles. Observe calm people. They are not unaffected. They are disciplined. They have learned that reacting emotionally gives temporary relief but long-term disturbance. They pause. They observe. They respond only when necessary. This discipline protects their inner world. When you stop giving emotional access to everyone, anger naturally reduces. You no longer feel the need to defend yourself constantly. You no longer take everything personally. You realize that most people's behavior says more about them than about you. The moment you decide that your emotions are not public property, life becomes quieter. You stop leaking energy. You stop carrying unnecessary emotional weight. You become lighter, clearer, and more grounded. Your peace is your responsibility. Protect it wisely. Anger gives others remote control over your mind, and most of the time you don't even realize when you hand it over. One careless comment, one rude behavior, one unexpected action, and suddenly your mood changes. Your thoughts spiral, your body reacts. The other person moves on with their life, but you carry the disturbance inside you for hours, sometimes days. This is the hidden cost of anger. It allows external events and people to decide how you feel internally. Think about it deeply. The moment you get angry, you are no longer acting from choice, you are reacting from impulse. Your peace is no longer yours. Someone else pressed a button and your emotions responded automatically. This is what it means to give someone remote control over your mind. They don't need to physically harm you. A word is enough, a look is enough, even a memory is enough, and your inner world is shaken. The most painful part is that the person who triggered you may not even be aware of the impact. They may be careless, ignorant, or simply different from you. But your anger gives them importance they never asked for and power they never deserved. You replay the situation again and again in your mind, creating new arguments, new emotions, new stress. Meanwhile, they are at peace. This imbalance is where suffering begins. Anger creates mental slavery. You believe you are standing you be for yourself, but in reality, you are surrendering control. Your thoughts stop serving you, they start serving the emotion. Your intelligence becomes cloudy, your words become sharp, your actions become rushed. Later, when calm returns, you realize that you were not your best self in that moment. That realization itself becomes another burden. Calmness, on the other hand, is freedom. When you remain calm in a provoking situation, you break the chain. You tell your mind, I choose how I respond. This choice is powerful. It shifts you from being a victim of circumstances to being the master of your inner state. Calmness does not mean you agree. It means you refuse to be controlled. Many people fear that if they don't react strongly, others will think they are weak. But strength is not loud. Strength is stable. Anyone can shout. Anyone can lose control. But staying composed when emotions are high requires awareness and discipline. That discipline is what separates leaders from followers, mature minds from impulsive ones. When anger takes over, even truth loses its value. You may be right, but the way you express it pushes people away. Calm communication carries authority. Angry communication creates resistance. If your goal is respect, anger works against you. If your goal is peace, calmness supports you. Anger also steals the present moment. Instead of being where you are, your mind is stuck in what happened or what should have happened. You are physically present, but mentally imprisoned. Calmness brings you back. It grounds you. It reminds you that no situation is worth losing yourself over. Each time you choose calmness over anger, you reclaim your remote control. You decide that your emotions will not dance to someone else's behavior. This does not happen overnight. It is a practice. Sometimes you will fail. Sometimes anger will win. But awareness itself is peace, progress. The moment you notice I am being controlled, you take the first step toward freedom. Slowly, you realize something life-changing. People can still behave badly. Situations can still go wrong, but your inner state remains steady. That steadiness becomes your power. You stop reacting to noise and start responding with clarity. You no longer give free access to your peace. When you master calmness, you master yourself. And when you master yourself, no one else can rule you. Wise people pause, fools react. This statement may sound simple, but living it requires deep awareness. A pause looks small from the outside, but inside, it is a powerful space where intelligence replaces impulse. Most problems in life do not come from what happens to us, they come from how quickly we react to what happens. Reaction is instant, emotional, and uncontrolled. A pause, even for a few seconds, allows wisdom to enter. When something triggers you, the mind wants immediate expression. It wants to speak, reply, defend, attack, or escape. This urge feels urgent, almost necessary. But urgency is the language of emotion, not intelligence. The wise understand that the first response is rarely the best response. They allow the emotion to rise, but they don't allow it to decide. A pause is not silence caused by fear, it is silence chosen consciously. It is you telling yourself, let me not speak from this emotional state. That moment of restraint saves relationships, reputations, and inner peace. Many regrets in life begin with the sentence, I shouldn't have said that. Wisdom is learning to pause before those words are spoken. Fools react not because they are unintelligent, but because they are unaware. Awareness creates space. Unawareness creates impulse. When the mind is unconscious, it confuses reaction with strength. It believes that immediate expression proves confidence. Be you. In reality, it proves lack of control. Anyone can react. Children react, animals react. Reaction requires no effort. Pause requires mastery. The pause gives you time to see the full picture. In that moment, you can ask yourself, is this worth my energy? Will this matter tomorrow? What is the best response, not the loudest one? These questions never arise in reaction. They only arise in stillness, and that stillness is where maturity lives. Wise people know that emotions are temporary visitors. If you don't act on them immediately, they lose intensity. Anger peaks and then fades. Hurt softens, ego relaxes. The pause allows emotions to settle so that decisions are not made at their strongest point. Acting at the peak of emotion is like driving during a storm at full speed. Waiting does not mean weakness, it means safety. Reaction often feels justified in the moment. You feel wronged, disrespected, misunderstood. But reacting rarely gives the outcome you desire. It may give emotional release, but it rarely gives resolution. Wise people choose long-term peace over short-term relief. They understand that calm responses carry more power than emotional explosions. In conversations, the pause changes everything. When someone provokes you and you don't react immediately, the dynamic shifts. The other person expects resistance, argument, or emotion. When they don't get it, they are forced to slow down too. Calmness has a disarming effect. It removes fuel from conflict. The pause also protects your dignity. Words spoken in anger cannot be taken back. Actions done in impulse leave marks. Wise people care deeply about how they show up in the world. They don't want to win at the cost of becoming someone they don't respect. The pause keeps them aligned with their values. This habit is built gradually. In the beginning, the pause may feel uncomfortable. Silence may feel heavy. Your mind will push you to react, to explain, to defend. But if you hold the pause, even for a few seconds, you gain confidence in your ability to choose. Over time, that pause becomes natural. It becomes your strength. Pausing does not mean avoiding problems, it means approaching them with clarity. After the pause, you may STILL speak. You may still set boundaries, you may still take action, but the action comes from awareness, not emotion. That difference changes everything. Life keeps testing this skill. People will provoke, situations will challenge, words will hurt. The question is not whether triggers will come, the question is whether you will react automatically or pause consciously. Each pause is a step toward wisdom. Each reaction is a missed opportunity to grow. Wise people are not born wise, they train themselves to pause. And in that pause, they find power, peace, and control over their own life. Peace is more valuable than proving a point, yet most people learn this only after they have lost both. In the heat of a disagreement, the mind becomes obsessed with being right. It wants validation. It wants the other person to admit they were wrong. In that moment, winning the argument feels like self-respect. But when the argument ends, when the voices settle and silence returns, what often remains is heaviness, distance, and regret. The point may have been proven, but peace has quietly left. The need to prove a point is rooted in ego. Ego does not want understanding, it wants victory. It measures worth through dominance and correctness. When ego takes over, listening stops. The conversation turns into a battlefield where the goal is not resolution but superiority. And in such battles, even if you win, something inside you loses. Peace, on the other hand, is subtle. It does not shout. It does not demand recognition. But it sustains you. It keeps the mind clear and the heart light. When you choose peace over proving a point, you are not saying you are wrong. You are saying that your inner balance matters more than external validation. This choice requires maturity because the ego resists it strongly. Many arguments are not about truth, they are about perspective. Two people see the same situation differently, and both be sincere. When you realize this, the urgency to convince reduces. You understand that forcing someone to see through your lens is unnecessary. You can respect difference without turning it into conflict. Proving a point often damages relationships. Words spoken to win an argument can wound deeply. Even if the logic is correct, the tone can hurt. Over time, people remember how you made them feel more than what you said. Peace protects relationships because it values connection over control. There is also a hidden exhaustion in always needing to be right. The mind stays tense, alert, defensive. Peace relaxes the nervous system. It allows you to rest emotionally. You don't have to explain everything. You don't have to correct everyone. You don't have to respond to every misunderstanding. Letting go becomes an act of self-care. Choosing peace does not mean suppressing your truth. It means expressing it wisely, or sometimes choosing not to express it at all. Timing matters. Readiness matters. Not everyone is open to understanding in every moment. When the mind is closed, logic becomes noise. Peace knows when to speak and when to step back. There is a deep confidence in silence. When you are secure in who you are, you don't need constant agreement. You don't need to win debates to feel validated. Your calm presence speaks louder than arguments. This kind of strength is quiet but powerful. Over time, you realize that many things you once fought over no longer matter. Opinions change. Situations pass. People evolve. But the emotional damage caused by unnecessary conflicts can last long. Peace preserves energy for what truly matters: growth, love, and purpose. Life becomes lighter when you stop carrying the burden of proving yourself. You start choosing your battles wisely. Some battles are simply not worth your peace. And Tate, a choice is not surrender, it is wisdom. When you consistently choose peace, something beautiful happens. Your mind becomes clearer. Your relationships become healthier. Your presence becomes calmer. You stop reacting from insecurity and start responding from awareness. You may lose a few arguments, but you gain a life of inner stability. In the end, peace is not the absence of disagreement. It is the presence of self-control. And self-control is the highest form of power. Most anger comes from ego, not truth, and understanding this can completely change the way you respond to life. When something upsets you, it feels personal. The mind immediately says, "How dare they?" or "Why would they treat me like this?" In that moment, it feels like your values, your respect, or your identity has been attacked. But if you look closely, the intensity of the anger is rarely about facts. It is about the ego feeling threatened. Truth is calm. Truth does not shout. Truth does not need emotional explosions to defend itself. Ego, on the other hand, is loud and fragile. It reacts quickly because it constantly needs protection. When someone disagrees with you, corrects you, ignores you, or behaves differently than you expect, ego feels diminished. Anger becomes its weapon. If anger truly came from truth, it would be consistent and clear. But anger changes based on mood, environment, and emotional state. Something that enrages you today may not bother you tomorrow. This itself proves that anger is emotional, not factual. Truth remains the same regardless of how you feel. Ego reacts because it wants to maintain an image. Many arguments are not about what is right, but about who is right. The moment I becomes more important than understanding, ego has taken control. You may start defending a position not because it is correct, but because admitting otherwise would hurt your self-image. Anger fuels this defense. It gives ego the illusion of strength. Ego also creates comparison. When someone succeeds, speaks confidently, or challenges you, ego feels insecure. That insecurity often turns into irritation or anger. Instead of learning, ego chooses resistance. Instead of curiosity, it chooses attack. But truth never feels threatened by growth. Only ego does. When you are aligned with truth, you are open, you can listen, you can accept feedback, you can admit mistakes. Anger blocks all of this. It closes the mind, it builds walls instead of bridges. Ego prefers being right over being wise. One of the clearest signs that anger is ego-driven is how personal it feels. The mind says, they disrespected me, even when the situation may not have been about you at all. Ego takes neutral events and turns them into personal insults. It interprets silence as rejection, difference as opposition, and boundaries as attacks. Letting go of ego does not mean losing self-respect. In fact, it is the opposite. When ego softens, self-respect strengthens. You no longer need to prove your worth through reactions. You don't need to defend your identity at every turn. You become stable, not because others validate you, but because you understand yourself. Truth is flexible, ego is rigid. Truth allows discussion, ego demands agreement. When you notice anger rising, ask yourself gently, am I protecting truth or am I protecting my image? This question creates awareness, and awareness weakens ego's grip. As ego reduces, anger reduces naturally. You stop taking everything personally. You stop reacting to every comment. You start seeing people as they are, imperfect, evolving, learning. Compassion increases where anger once lived. Life becomes easier when you stop carrying the burden of ego. You don't need to win every conversation. You don't need to correct everyone. You don't need to be admired by all. Truth stands on its own. It does not need emotional defense. When ego steps aside, clarity enters. And in that clarity, anger finds no place to stay. Your energy is precious. Don't waste it. This is a simple statement, but its depth is often overlooked in daily life. Every emotion you allow to dominate your mind consumes energy. Anger, frustration, resentment, worry, these are all forms of energy leakage. They do not solve the problem that caused them. Instead, they leave you drained, distracted, and less capable of handling life effectively. The truth is, energy is limited. How you choose to spend it determines the quality of your day, your relationships, and even your long-term health. Every time you react impulsively to anger, irritation, or provocation, you are making a choice about where your energy goes. And most of the time, that energy goes to things that do not deserve it. A careless comment, a minor injustice, a momentary slight. These are small ripples in the ocean of life. Yet when you feed them with emotional energy, they become waves that disturb your inner calm. You give your attention, your focus, and your emotional strength to someone else's behavior, and the cost is entirely yours. Energy is not only physical, it is mental, emotional, and spiritual. When your mind is occupied with anger or resentment, it cannot focus on creativity, problem solving, or meaningful connections. When your heart is weighed down by bitterness, it cannot experience joy fully. When your spirit is drained by unnecessary conflict, it cannot rise to higher awareness or growth. Every wasted reaction diminishes your overall capacity to live well. And yet most people continue to spend energy unconsciously, moment by moment, day by day. Understanding the value of your energy is like understanding the value of money. You would not throw money away on things that do not matter. Yet you often spend your energy, your most vital currency, on things that have little significance in the grand scheme of life. Arguments that never resolve, grudges that never benefit you, gossip that only spreads negativity. These are energy drains. Each moment you react without awareness is a transaction in which your energy is spent, and usually you do not even gain anything in return. Choosing where to invest your energy requires awareness and discipline. Pause before you react. Observe the situation. Ask yourself, is this worth my energy? Will this matter tomorrow, next week, or next year? Most of the time, the answer is no. Yet without conscious choice, the mind reacts automatically and energy is lost. The people who manage their energy well are not those who avoid life. They are those who respond wisely, using their strength only for what truly matters. Energy is also contagious. When you react negatively, you spread tension to those around you. Anger breeds anger. Complaints breed dissatisfaction. Worry breeds fear. But when you manage your energy and respond with calm and clarity, your presence becomes stabilizing. People are drawn to those who have control over themselves, not to those who constantly give their energy away to external circumstances. Your energy is linked to your time. Every wasted emotional reaction is a lost opportunity to do something meaningful. It could be learning, creating, helping, or simply enjoying life. By choosing not to invest energy in things that do not matter, you reclaim time, you reclaim focus, you reclaim the freedom to live with intention. This is why emotional management is not just about peace of mind. It is about living a life that is productive, purposeful, and fulfilling. Energy also affects health. Chronic anger, stress, and negativity raise blood pressure, disturb sleep, weaken immunity, and increase the risk of disease. By learning to preserve energy, you protect your body as well as your mind. Energy conservation is not laziness, it is wisdom. It is the understanding that every reaction has a cost, and some costs are too high for minor disturbances. When you start valuing your energy, life priorities become clearer. You stop wasting time on meaningless arguments. You stop worrying about approval from everyone. You stop giving importance to trivial provocations. You begin to invest in growth, in relationships that uplift, and in experiences that enrich. You learn to say no without guilt, not because you are selfish, but because you understand that your energy is too precious to scatter. The ultimate lesson is that energy, once spent, cannot be retrieved. Time moves forward, and moments lost in unnecessary anger or frustration are gone forever. Each conscious choice to protect your energy is a small victory, and over time, those victories accumulate into a life that is stronger, calmer, and more intentional. Protect your energy like you would protect your most valuable possession, because in truth, it is. How you use it shapes not only your day, but your destiny.